Let's get to Chris Franklin. He's got to help me get out of the med tent. Philly Don says he's sending me to the med tent. It's been John all year. Now it's going to be me. I appreciate everybody. Let's get to the man, the myth, the legend. Chris Franklin joining us here on Birds 365. Chris, what's going on, my friend? How you doing on this?
That's true. Did the Bears ruin you, Chris?
Yeah, that threw me off. I'm like, oh, what the heck? I want damages. I want to call one of the lawyers and I want damages for whatever they did to me. I'm just kidding now. How you guys doing?
What they do, they ruin quarterbacks. The Chicago Bears. That should be their tagline. We've been talking about this before you came on. So I just happened to be at PFF yesterday, and they have they sort of rank the teams in 13 different categories, Chris. And the Eagles are now number 2 overall behind Detroit. So that's pretty good. They're basically top 10 in everything. Number 7 in total offense, number 10 in pass blocking, number 9 in receiving, number 5 in running, number 6 in run blocking, number 1 in defense, number 10 in tackling, number 2 in pass rush, number 1 in coverage. A couple outliers, special teams because of Jake's struggles, no doubt. Run defense, mediocre. They're only bottom of the league, bottom 10 in the league in one category, Chris Franklin. Passing offense. That's it.
Yeah, and I mean, look at the way that early it happened this early season. Yeah, just even it reared its ugly head sometimes during Thursday's game, where it wasn't as efficient, especially early on. The one thing I'm still trying to struggle a little bit with is I know I know that the offensive affinity with the deep ball is good, but early on in those drives, just get something to get yourself in rhythm and get things going. I mean, we talked about the slow starts earlier on. I think that has to attribute it. Just try if it's a little slant, 5-yard slant to get Jalen and the offense going to AJ Devontae, and then you just roll from there. So, yeah, I can see that. Overall, yeah, I take all those different statistics and stuff like that, but I think that's the one thing that you're looking at heading into this playoff. Because let's say I think NFL.com had them like 97% for making the playoffs.
They're making the playoffs.
Yeah, they're going to make the playoffs.
Yeah,
matter of getting that fixed.
Yeah, I mean, look, and Chris, I think the reason it's a real topic, many are like, "Oh, you're 8-2. Why are you complaining?" I get it, but you also have a team in the NFC right now that's dropping 50 burgers like it's nothing. I mean, you're going to need a passing game to keep up with these types of teams. How much of a concern is it for you, or do you think it's still a work in progress? New coordinator, Jalen maybe still acclimating to the system. How much of it do you put on that versus how much of it do you view as a real problem that could plague them in the 2024 season?
I think with Detroit was more like remember Titans running up, leave no doubt when it came to that one. So I think they just like to run it up towards that. And some of the opponents
they've done it several times. I mean, they beat the Cowboys 47-9, Titans they beat 52-14. They won 52-6. I mean, they're just destroying teams.
There's 4 games, 4 Detroit games where they've had more touchdowns than incompletions.
Yeah,
4 games.
That's what happens when you start out fast. When you get it so fast, because when you look at some of these games the Eagles been involved in, if they had started out fast, we've probably seen a couple of those. Like they should have put a 50 burger up on the Cowboys. Really should have. When all told, but yeah, I look at these things like even with Detroit. I look at the Eagles. Like I'm not worried about. I think it was more getting acclimated. I think it was a little bit Jalen at first, looking at basically I say like, okay, it wasn't 2-yard separations. I'm gonna hold the ball and make sure I'm not gonna throw an interception. But then we saw a couple times it wound up being an interception. So and I think a little bit was thinking through the terminology, because one thing you can really tell, like when a quarterback is thinking, you see that 1, 2, oh yeah, and then you see they got the aha moment and they try to chuck it the last moment. I think you saw that a lot. I think you're still seeing it a little bit in terms of running this offense. So are we going to see it? Yeah, I think we won't see it cleaned up unless Kellen Moore's still here next year and he feels like completely comfortable with his offense. But yeah, I think I think it's a learning curve, but also some of it falls on Jalen, some of it falls on the offensive line because it wasn't as scouted. Hard upon, but it wasn't as scouted as we normally saw it. I think some of the receivers, like especially on the interior guys, some of the slot guys that look at some routes where they're supposed to be in terms of what you've seen Moore's offensive. They were in best position all the time too. So there's a lot going on in terms of that.
Yeah, we'll see how it all plays out. I want to thank everybody in the chat for their super chats. We'll get to all of them when we commence here with Chris Franklin. Chris, has Kellen Moore been? I mean, I don't want to go there yet, but up to week 11, is he a failure right now? I mean, because if you think about it, Chris, they're 8-2. But was Kellen Moore brought here to have a great running back with Saquon Barkley, or was he brought here to advance Jalen Hurts, to develop Jalen Hurts, and to get the most out of the passing game? I think it's the latter. Now, maybe I'm wrong. Maybe they're looking at it, the Eagles organization, like, oh, it's great, we're 8-2, everything looks good. Or are they concerned with what Kellen Moore has brought to the passing game?
I thought it would have been a failure more if they didn't adjust. Because if you see some of these offensive coordinators, Adam Gase, when they see what they want to do so much and they just continually try to force it down everybody's throat around, and they don't make any changes, what have you.
Yeah.
I think he realized first, like, okay, you can go in with it. And I think this is what the difference is between some of these good offensive coordinators that eventually become head coaches and whatnot. You can go in with a playbook. Everybody has a playbook that can beat every defense on paper. You know, oh, this could beat this or this. It's a matter of A, teaching it, B, making sure that everybody's on the same page on that. And C, being willing to adjust if you have the skill, if you have players that go to their strengths, something like that. I think he was able to do that. At first, I think he thought like, hey, we're going to throw the ball 40 times a game, what have you. And you see now the adjustments. You see more focus on the run game. You see more to focus on the play action passes, which he's done in the past. But I think knowing what we know about this team, the organization, they would love to throw it, but he's brought that back. He's brought that part of it as his playbook back a little bit more. And you're starting to see them get more success. And you just want to continue running what works well for you. I mean, you're still in the top, was the mentioned here, top 10 offense. And in terms of that, you still want to run everything else. You still and you got to now that you're a top 10 offense, you can't run the same stuff. They say, oh, okay, well, we're top 10 now. We run these plays all the time. I want to see the tweaks. I want to see more of I want to see the advancement of the offense where it's not just like, okay, a wide receiver screen. I want to see the wide receiver screen and go. I want to see the running backs. The one thing I really want to see is the development of the running back screen get better in terms of that. There's little things they still can get, and this offense can still evolve off what they've done successfully in the 6-game win streak. I just want to see the continued evolution.
Now, we're in Philadelphia, though, Chris. So we all know expectations apply into it. You go to any NFL city, and you should be happy with 8-2. In this city, it's kind of expected after 9-1 and 9-1. Now they're 8-2. They were supposed to have not a top 10 offense. They were supposed to have the best offense in football with this all-star team. They were supposed to be better than Kurt Warner's greatest show on turf. They were supposed to be all these things, and they're not. Is that unfair? Is that unfair to point out that this passing offense just isn't that effective, despite having A.J. Brown and DeMonte Smith, and you know the list. Go on down the list. It should be effective.
Well, I look at the 9-1 thing, and I look at of the 8-2, 9-1 thing. If they should be 9-1, thanks to that decision against the Atlanta Falcons, going to come back to bite them for the second seed, make them just 2 instead of 1. But I look at that and say, the one thing I fell in this trap too, and I was one of those things where I thought I forgot about the learning curve. I really did. And I'm looking at the first like, oh, they should go out first game, second game, everything should be rolling, what have you, things are going right. It's just not, a lot of times with these offenses, not the case. And I fell in that trap. I know you can look at that way too. Teams you can go with the best intentions that you can. You can go with the best intention with this offense and go, oh, they can put up 400 yards each game and they can run for another 50, 60 or Saquon. No, that wasn't going to happen on that one because you got Saquon Barkley. But I think it's one of those things where they still, I think they're still a very good offense. And I still think they're, if anything, looking around the league, especially after watching Sunday's game, they're a lot further along than I think a lot of teams are in this league anyway.
You can't look at other teams. We don't do that here.
But yeah, I think overall, like they're not the best offense. We obviously know as of right now Detroit is, and they're that fast track, and they just
all right. Well,
ball,
real quick, because I think you're right on the learning curve. I think that's fair. What the hell is Vic Fangio doing? There's no learning curve. That's just off the charts.
I think it's more of a malpractice we saw on the side last year because they had some of the pieces here, probably a better defensive line than we saw overall. The defensive line overall. But yeah, I think that was the biggest thing. This is more. I think it's more of a malpractice by Sean Desai. So Vandy, I think he simplified the terms. He's making it easier for these guys to learn the system, even though it's a lot harder. And I think you got to get a lot of credit to Christian Parker. He's a really good thing too, like developing. So I think that was more coaching last year. That was, especially on the defensive side, they were just giving up. All those chunks is almost like, okay, we know they're going to get about 20 yards, 30 yards, 40 yards on this thing. Yeah, that's what happened there. So I think that was more.
So you're not worried about Sean Desai giving the Rams an advantage?
I know this is wrong. Sean's a very good, a very nice guy. He's very fair for us. I think it might help the Eagles this week.
He is a very nice guy.
Yeah, well, I don't know. As bad as he might have been last year, I don't think they should have moved on from him at 10-2.
No, I think Matt was worried.
Oh, that was wrong.
Yeah, that was a dumb move to do. Anyway, I digress. Chris, how sold are you on the linebackers, man? I mean, Zach Bonds, is this something he can sustain? Is this something that's naturally going to fall back to earth a little bit? Like, have you seen enough from Zach Bond to say, pay that man, that's a top linebacker in the league, or you still have your doubts?
I'm 90% there of paying him an extension. The thing I want to see is now, giving up the weather's about to change, giving it about to be real colder, how he plays in between the tackles against the run. Because you're going to see a lot of effectively now. Everybody's throwing the ball, slinging it around like, okay, it starts to get a little bit colder. You got to go back down the ground game and be effective. And he's not the biggest guy in terms of being an off the ball guy. That's the only thing I want to see. Otherwise, yeah, he's been better. He's exceeded there all my expectations. I thought he was just going to be an edge rusher, and if he's on linebacker, it'll take him some time. But now I look at the fact that he can play in space. He's generally a sure tackler on the outside. Yeah, I'm at the point now when, will I pay $10 million for him? Or will the Eagles pay $10 million for him?
That's the key question.
Yeah, that's the key.
Because we know the affinity for all fall linebackers. They need edge rushers, not just one. They need edge rushers because he needs a free agent. You got to correct the Bryce Huff thing that's going on right now, and you can address one of them with the draft, but it's still a crapshoot. And then there's still so much they can do with that one. But the way that Zach Bond has given life to this defense, especially the second level, him and Kobe Dean, look at the way he's stepped up as well. You look at the way that life, you expect that. This is the last time the Eagles have had a 3-layered defense that's been decent since probably the early 2000s, and that's rare.
Oh, come on, 2022, they were pretty good, Chris.
They were pretty good, but I think it was more T.J. Edwards. Kaiser White was decent, but it wasn't. But we were talking about him like we were
more
about
TJ. Yeah, more TJ. Yeah. But they
I'm
were
looking
good.
at the whole complete one. Yeah, they're decent. It's a lot of TJ. Because I like Kaiser too. Like when it came a lot of times, I remember we were all talking back around that time. Like, okay, do they have enough as Kaiser the guy? Should they go look at somebody, looking to shore that up a little bit around the time?
No, I'm with you. I think Kaiser was a little bit overrated by most, and I think TJ was underrated. Like TJ was the guy, but this twosome has been better. So, all right, I 2 questions about Zach. So we'll use your 10 million.
Okay.
The options are do what the Eagles always do, and that's like, all right, we don't want to pay a linebacker 10 million, and we got Jeremiah Trotter Jr. ready to take over. So we just put Jeremiah Trotter Jr. in there, and I put ready to take over in quotations. What would Chris Franklin do? 10 million or Jeremiah Trotter Jr.? And what would Howie Roseman, and what is Howie Roseman going to do? Jeremiah Trotter, Zach Ball,
give it
10 million.
We know he's going to use that in negotiations. I'm really deep right here. I'm going to add one more guy in the draft, and we're set. But I'd pay. I think 8.5. I'd probably go 8.5, just because the fact you look around, you can't really find this. You've seen what off the ball linebacker can do in this specific defense, especially in the coverage area, and you've
every
had issues
defense, by the way, every good defense has a good off ball linebacker.
Yeah, it's like I don't know how he's
Fred
smart
Fred
guy.
Warner, Roquan Smith, we talk about, the Eagles are undefeated with AJ Brown. Minnesota's undefeated with Blake Cashman. Does anybody know that guy? They don't lose when he's on the field.
Yeah.
Everybody's got a big time off ball linebacker, and the Eagles have Zach Bond. Why is Howie not recognizing it? He's always had, I tell Zander this all the time, and you know this, Chris. There's always been outliers that we know about at running back. They love McCaffrey. They were going to draft McCaffrey. They love Bijan Robinson. They weren't going to draft him at top 10, but if he started to fall, they might have went up to get him in the 20s, early 20s. They loved him as a player. We never hear that about linebackers. They never, there's no inkling, there's no whisper, there's nothing. Why?
I think one thing we have seen, we also heard the same thing, they wouldn't pay a running back, and we saw that with Saquon too. So
But that's why I said there's always been that. There's always been those guys that were exceptions at running back that we've heard of. There's no exception. There's never been that I know of that I've ever heard. There's never been an exception at off ball linebacker.
Yeah, and you're looking at that, and because they build around the edges, because that's the important thing. They think when it comes to the edges, when it comes to edge rushers, cornerbacks, those are like those end guys. They value a lot more. But I look at it as in terms of maybe if they go 8.5, I go 8.5. Right, 2 years with option, third year option. I go 8.5. But how we might do it is we'll start with 6. We'll start with 6.5, 7.5, 6.5.
If I'm a betting man, your linebackers next year are going to be Nakobe Dean and Jeremiah Trotter Jr.
Oh God, John, are you kidding me?
I go Nakobe Dean, veteran guy. And as much as I like Trot,
Eric
and he's
Wilson,
developing.
he might be available.
They're signing Zach
Oh,
Bond.
you just gave me a shock. Oh,
They're signing Bond. You heard it here first. We're going 10, 11 million, multiple years, guaranteed money, the whole 9 yards.
It might be a John Middleton. Somebody's going to throw stupid money at him.
Well, that's my concern. Somebody's going to go above 10 million. That's my concern. Who was that Denver linebacker? Remember him? They brought him in, talked him up, and he was going pretty. Corey Nelson, I believe. Is that his name?
Oh.
I thought you were going Singleton on me. I'm like,
no, he went to Denver. They should have kept Alex. Alex is not great, but he was a good player.
He was competent, yeah.
Yeah.
A lot of tackling machine.
Not Nate Gary?
Nate. Yeah, that was his name, Corey Nelson. There was a collection. Paul Warlow. Corey Nelson was the 2018. Eric Wilson. I brought up. They always bring in these. Hey, Corey Nelson. And that's where the Eagles have been an off-ball linebacker, and that's what they thought of Zach Bond. By the way, well, first of all, they didn't think it was an off-ball linebacker.
Yeah,
they signed him for $1.6 million. So I'm not giving Howie credit for that. I do give Vic credit for it. And we're going to get to talk to Vic Fangio and the coordinators today. So I imagine the motion of Sean McVay is going to be a big storyline this week. Everybody loves motion. Everybody loves the eye wash, Chris. Does this test the young players on the Eagles defense?
Yeah, I think the biggest test is going to be on Cooper DeJean, especially when you're lining these guys up in the slot and trying to, especially when you have to worry about that jet motion. Is it going to be a guy you got to go on at the edge? You have to try to move up and tackle. Or then you have to worry about Puka Nacua and Cooper Kupp on the inside, like worrying about their route trees and what they do well. He's the focal point. This is going to be, I think, it's going to be tested more on him as opposed to say Reed or Quinyon, what have you. He's the guy that's going to be under the thing. It's tough playing this. I feel like somebody wrote this and it was a very good article. It's basically we're watching like wing T offenses and stuff like that for all the stuff that was old that we used to see back in like the 40s, 50s, and 60s. Yeah, it's starting to run this, and because guys just haven't seen it. So a lot of time is a lot of assignment responsibility type ball. It's basically being disciplined. Yeah. Know what your role is and stay in the right spot, and you got it. It's a matter of, and this is where you're hoping that Cooper, who's shown that he's been disciplined so far, he just settles down and is able to do that. So yeah, he's the one I'm watching very closely this week, and how they utilize it, how Vic and the rest of the defensive staff teaches it up there too. Vic's seen this offense a lot and over times in the last few years, but it's different from teaching it as opposed to sitting down and going, "Oh
He
wow,
can,
he's gonna run
by the
that."
way, Big Fangio completely shut down this offense. And that's what Bill Belichick copied in the Super Bowl when New England beat. And that was the 6-man front game that he rolled out in New Orleans to stop the stretch run game. Vic came up with that when he was in Chicago. Bill copied it, and Sean McVay didn't know what the hell to do with it.
It,
What the
it,
hell to do with it?
it really is. And it's smart because a lot of times I feel like you're watching like an old like Gettysburg or something like that. They try to flank. You're just trying to outflank it. Use your speed
Yeah.
and try to outflank it. You got to make it. If you add an additional person, to make it a little bit longer. Takes a second or two. Everything flows this way
Yeah.
too. So right, I think the Rams are going to try to spread them out in order to try to stop it. But
Jim Schwartz used to speak with disdain about motion, like it's not that big of a deal. He's like, you know, he called it eyewash. He's like, as long as you stay disciplined, it's not a problem. I get a feeling you're going to hear the same thing from Vic today, pretty much. Stay disciplined, not a problem.
yeah, in his brash way too. It's not that bad. It's all right. We could do
I
this.
love the way Vic
I did it
speaks.
for you. or get a pause like, no, and it really is just making sure it's assignment straight ball. That's all it is. You just got a lot of trust. And one thing is we've heard a lot of this last six during this street where defenses learn to trust each other. Where defense knows, okay, this guy's going to do his job. So that's going to be tested this week.
Yeah.
It's really it's going to be tested. You just hope that if they do break one, that the other guys are just going to go, oh well, I got to overcompensate for this guy. Hope there are going to
What
be
it's
a
all
couple of plays where they
about.
beat him.
Yeah.
There are going to be a couple of plays to do it.
Sean McVay's probably going to lose some sleep thinking about that game and that Super Bowl. We'll see if Vic rolls out the 6-man front. I doubt it because he's not. He probably thinks, it's one of those things where Sean thinks he's going to roll it out. So probably not. But that's the beauty of Big Fangio. Look, the Honest NFL is a great follow on Twitter. The Honest NFL. He pointed out, look, he didn't play a snap of man coverage in that game against Washington, Chris, until the 8th drive. The entire game they were in zone, forcing Jaden Daniels to play quarterback, and it worked beautifully. It worked beautifully.
Mm-hmm.
And he comes up. He's got that Belichickian ability to come up with different game plans each week that take advantage of what the opponent does. Boy, I know everybody wants Saquon to be the MVP, Zach Bone, the great story. Maybe Vic Fangio is the biggest story of all. Finally getting him a year late.
I think him and Ben Johnson are going neck and neck for that assistant coach of the year. I really think they're going neck and neck for that because Ben Johnson's. I think he's going to win it running
Yeah,
away
he's
just
going to
for the
win it.
numbers.
Yeah.
Everybody loves offense.
Exactly.
But when it comes to those second and third votes, I think Vic will get enough to wind up being second just for the job because everybody's going to look like you took that defense that looked like that last year and all of a sudden you're looking good.
Yeah.
All right.
Well,
good,
that
yeah.
same line of thinking is why I think they're going to pay Bond because I think Vic Fangio has instilled, maybe a seat change in Howie where it's like, this guy did this with this. I'm going to give him what he wants. So it's one thing if you get a 15th ranked defense, you're like, okay, I'm going to do it my way. You're the new guy. He takes this defense to 1, 2, 3, top 5. Howie's going to be like, all right, I'll give you some players. Who do you want? I think that might happen.
Yeah. And then also I'm looking at this matchup like playing all that zone against Jay Down makes sense because you wanted him to think about that zone. And also, you got all the players looking back at the line of scrimmage because everybody knows how he can run. Everybody's looking at him. Okay, they see him starting to scramble. Okay, they can adjust and help and run support. This week, you
can't do that this week. Yeah,
I wonder if they do more man, and I wonder if they do more. They roll the safeties up a little bit more because Stafford. Because we saw how Jalen Carter plays. And we saw last time he played against the Rams as well, too, how much of an impact he had at times. So I wonder if you look at it as one of those things where he tries to get the ball out quickly, 1, 2, 3 out, 1, 2, 3 out, maybe throw a couple blitzes behind them and try to support it if they try to go against that. Because that we know Stafford is not Jay Daniels in terms of his
No, it's
mobility
the
and stuff
exact
like that.
opposite. You don't want Matthew Stafford playing quarterback. That's exactly what you don't want. You want to speed him up, get him off his spots. If he's playing quarterback, you're in trouble.
Yeah.
Because he can make every throw. And he knows, he knows what he's played a long time. He knows, and that's the beauty of Vic Fangio. Yeah, he's going to come at it a different way, and he's going to try to speed him up. And he might see a little bit more blitzing. He's down to 18.8%, by the way, Chris. 29th in the NFL when it comes to blitzing.
Why couldn't he be like the Dolphins last year and blitz like when he was the seventh lowest? Now he's down this low. I'm waiting for that argument.
Yeah.
He doesn't blitz as much as we need to. Sorry.
Oh, yeah, you get that all the time, but only when it's not successful. Tough to complain when you're at the top of the NFL like the Eagles defense is right now. And that just tells you there's a lot of ways to play defense, a lot of ways to win games, a lot of ways to play offense. Chris Franklin knows them all. At C Franklin News. Make sure you follow him on the X platform. Read him at NJ.com. Coordinator.
Are you a Blue Skyer, Chris? I'm seeing
I'm everywhere. I got Blue Sky, I got Threads, I got Instagram, I got X.
Dude, how do you have time?
I'm not leaving X. Everyone's like, I'm leaving because of Elon. I'm like, I don't give a shit about Elon. I care that the audience is here.
Yeah, the most people, and I don't have enough time to keep up with freaking X.
I know.
I don't know how you guys do it with 77 different platforms.
Yeah, that's true.
I go where the people are. That's where people want to read there. I go
Blue Sky.
Yeah. God, I'm with you. I will not be migrating.
I do have a Threads account because I tried that and I was like, I don't have time to toggle back and forth between these two idiot platforms.
Yeah.
I will give you a warning. They said don't delete your X account because people can pop up again, get it, your name, use your face, and start tweeting out whatever they want. So they say keep it that way, keep it in there.
People are dicks. If you want to, God forbid, if you want to use my pick, go ahead. What are you going to do?
T-shirt. We're on a T-shirt.
Chris, you going down there? Am I going to see you down there? What do you got? What do you got ready for Vic today?
I want to be down there. It's mainly talking about somebody I talked about here as well too, Jalen Carter. I'm talking about that one too, and maybe going to an event later on today with food. So there'll be a story tomorrow.
Oh Jalen's having a thing. Is that today?
Yep. Yeah.
West. All right. A lot of good community things going on. Jalen Hurts was on Good Morning America doing his helping Philly schools out. Jalen Carter's got a turkey thing. Alex Hunt just had one.
They did something as well. So it's good to see that on this time of year, everybody's starting to step up and do a lot of stuff. I mean, they have the resources to do it. Or knows they have the money to do it to help out. And hell, worst case scenario, if you're thinking more business into it, it's a tax write-off. But worst case scenario, you got that too.
Yeah, it's good to
help everybody else. So.
I believe we should all help the less fortunate when we can. So good stuff for them doing that. Chris, thanks for joining the show, man. We appreciate you doing it. You always bring a good insight to the show. We'll talk to you again soon. All right, brother.
Appreciate it. Thank you guys.
Sorry the Bears ruined you, Chris.
I got to get the shoulder checked out. Maybe that's what happened. I don't know. Yeah. Bears and Madden more like it. Yes.
Talk to you soon, brother. All right,
thanks, bud.
Yeah, good stuff from Chris Franklin here on Birds 365. Love talking to Chris. John, we got a couple super chats we'll hit before we get out of here. It feels like a good time to mention as we talk about giving back a little bit. We do a big coat drive. My dad's been running a coat drive for 20 years. I think this is year 21, if I'm not mistaken. And he has given over 300,000 coats to the less fortunate, to veterans, to homeless in the shelter. So I'll be organizing a collection on the YouTube. You got to be local, obviously, because we'll pick up the coats. So if you're in the Philly area, definitely let me know if you have a slightly used or worn coat. We will do a coat drive. It's one of my things of growing up is I always remember when winter comes. My dad had a car full of coats, and he never drives by a homeless person in the city without giving them a coat in the winter months. So Krause's coats, it's called 300,000 coats and more. I'll be giving you more information on that. Hopefully, I can collect some coats from the great people of JAKIB Nation. Appreciate everybody for their support, as always. Let's go to our super chats, John. Look at this one. Marcel with the what's that? A Porsche? I love a Porsche. Marcel says, John McMullen University. I'm learning every day.
Oh, now there's a T-shirt. Now that yeah, but Stoutland.
Yeah, I have the
I like
Stout
that
Ute.
one.
John likes that. I like that too. That's good. John McMullen University. Maybe
Yeah.
John, maybe when you hang him up and you retire, we'll launch a John McMullen School of Football.
It's got to be maybe Johnny Mack University.
Yeah. No
Has got the
concussion
logo.
protocol. Nobody allowed. No concussion protocols
No,
allowed.
I appreciate that though, Marcel.
Yeah, no, cool comment. Marcel, thanks, brother. Nick Gonzalez says, Cilio said, Angelo said, we can't win the big one with Hurts and his numbers aren't good enough. John, what's your take on that?
I don't know. And didn't Angelo say they were going to win 3 games?
5 games, yeah.
I mean, maybe stop listening and don't stop listening when he's on Dan's show. But maybe, maybe understand that there is hot take people, and
Yeah, clearly a hot take. And the team's got 8 wins through 10 games. I mean, yeah, 5 wins there. Come on, Angelo.
Come on.
He's a good entertainer, though. You got to give him credit.
Well, yeah, that's what he's doing. That's what he's doing.
That's right. Yeah.
So
Dante checks in. Dante checks in. He says, I can't believe we have a top 5 defense. Eagles really found a diamond in the rough in Zach Bond. And was this Howie's best draft? Early returns look good on this draft. I don't want to go there yet. I think you got to give it a little bit more.
It's way too early for that. I mean, what was it? The Jordan Mailata draft was an incredible draft if you look at it long term. But yeah, I mean, it looks very good early on, but I mean, you got a long way to go. And so the 2018 draft, they traded down and they got Dallas Goedert in the 2nd round. They got Avonte Maddox in the 4th round. They got Josh Sweat in the 4th round. They got Matt Pryor in the 6th round. Even Matt Pryor had a long career in the NFL. And then Jordan Mailata in the 7th round.
Yeah, Pryor went to where? The Colts after us?
He went to a couple different teams. He was with the Colts, yes, 49ers, but he's played like 85 games in the end. He's been around for a long time.
Pretty impressive. And I know nobody likes Maddox now, but he was successful.
Oh, he's a very good player. Very good player for this team. Goddard, Sweat, still playing at a high level.
Sweat may be the pick of that draft, though.
No, Mailata is the pick of that draft.
Oh yeah, Mailata. Shit.
Dallas Goddard, you could argue, well, Sweat, you could argue Goddard, but one of them, Sweat's probably the 3rd best player in that draft. That's a good draft.
Yeah.
That is a good freaking draft. So, and then even if you want to go to 2021, where your top 3 right off the bat are Devontae Smith, Landon Dickerson, Milton Williams. That's a good draft. That is a big time draft. And then you still have Kenny Gainwell, who's still contributing. In the past, Zach McPherson before the injury was a good special. Marlon T helped, is still in the league. Patrick Johnson helped. That's a very good draft. So very early on, it looks good, but I'll tell you what, that was 2018. That 2018 draft is going to be tough to touch.
And he didn't have many picks in that draft because of like the Wentz stuff, right? Yeah. So
and they all hit.
I will say this is my moment of eating crow because early in the year when the Georgia guys at least weren't playing well, I put a little bit of a target on Howie. I said, "Come on, Howie, he's got to take some of the blame for this." And as it's played out later in the year, some of these guys look like they're really turning the corner. Here's a list of 13 draft picks in the top 3 rounds from 21 to 24. You guys ready for this? I mean, and this is where Howie deserves a lot of credit. Devontae Smith, Landon Dickerson, Milton Williams, Jordan Davis, Cam Jurgens, Nakobe Dean, Jalen Carter, Nolan Smith, Tyler Steen, Sidney Brown, Quinyon Mitchell, Cooper DeJean, and Jalen Hunt. I mean, there is not a bust on that list. Maybe some of you will call Jordan Davis a
Well,
bust because he doesn't
yeah,
play
but
enough.
remember how things change quickly
I
because
know.
everybody labeled N'Kobe Dean a bust. Now they're
Right.
labeling him not a bust.
Well, he's
Everybody
not, yeah.
labeled Nolan Smith a bust. He has not hit the level of even N'Kobe Dean. Tyler Steen hasn't played really. He's okay. Sidney Brown hasn't played really. Hasn't,
Yeah,
because
no,
of
there's some
injury.
question marks there, but
Yeah.
overwhelmingly, that's a pretty good hit rate for Howie Roseman in the top 3
Yeah.
rounds.
Well,
the
my
last
point
couple
is
of
they're all not going to hit. All those young guys are not going to hit.
Well,
That's
yeah,
just
there's
the
only a
nature.
couple left. I mean, they still have to play. Tyler Steen, I think he's been good in a limited role. Sidney Brown,
That's
we don't
the
really
odds.
know yet. Jalix Hunt, we don't really know yet, but at least he's doing something in year 1. So Howie's done pretty well. I'm not going to criticize Howie.
Yeah.
James Carver.
And by the way, when you're
Good.
picking it in the top 10, you should hit, and he hit with Devontae Smith.
He hit with Jalen
Landon,
Carter. He hit with Quinyon Mitchell, and
Yeah.
who's not top 10, but
and yeah, Jalen Carter. There's still the jury's still out. Cam Jurgens, great pick, and people were losing their minds. That was a great pick. Nolan Smith, jury's still out. I wouldn't
yeah, no,
spike
I'm not
the football.
crowning him yet, but
I wouldn't spike the football there.
it doesn't look like the bust it did at this point. 8 weeks
No,
ago.
he's a
He's
contributor.
he's contributing a little bit, which is good.
But and Jordan Davis again, it depends on your definition.
Yeah, which could easily be argued one way or the other, by the way. James Carver checks in. John, I know you got to run. You got to get down there. James Carver says, Eagles better pay Bond or his next team will be chanting, "Thank you, Eagles," like we did with New York last week. Keep them for sure. I'm with you, Carver. I think
Yeah, I
John's
mean,
like, I don't know if they're gonna.
it's easy, it's easy to say that. But again, if Zach wants to bet on himself and somebody wants to go to 12, 13, 14 million, if he continues to play at this level, it's not as easy as it may seem logically. But, a lot depends on him holding up, him betting on himself. And, obviously from an Eagles fan, it's sort of a catch-22 because you want him to continue to play at this level. But if he continues to play at this level and bets on himself, he might price himself out of the organization.
Real quick, one more, Johnny Mac. Good stuff there, James Carver. Seth checks in. Sirianni deserves an extension. Sorry, chat, but them the facts. Be happy with what you have because it's not going to last forever. If you want change, go be a Panthers fan. They change coaches every year. Look at that.
Well, yeah, he's Seth's 100% right. I mean, the guy's record is the guy's record. I mean,
they're going to extend him too, by the way.
Well, they should.
How many more years do you have in his deal?
One
more next year?
Yeah. No, they extended him. I believe. That's a good question. I'll check into that. I believe they extended him already once. But I'll check into that. Yeah, I mean, his record's his record. It's insane. We even talk about it. It's insane. I get the collapse last year, but now you're over the collapse.
Yeah.
I mean, and they're 8-2 again. 9-1, 9-1, 8-2. We just went through a political season where all it is, you're entitled, you're entitled, you're entitled. Eagles fans are entitled. Let's be honest.
I think
9-1, 9-1, 8-2. Oh, the coach is an idiot. McAfee did a skit where Nick Sirianni
came
on the
good.
show.
That was a good skit, man. That was funny.
And so, I mean, what the fuck are we doing here? That's not good enough. And it's always, but it's because of the talent. Well, what do you want them to be? 10-0, 10-0, 10-0? But then it's not, when the running back that everybody wants to be MVP drops the football and loses a game. Oh, it's not on the running back. I got that guy this week. Oh, that wasn't a layup. What the fuck? It wasn't a layup. Oh, we should have run the ball. You're entitled. I'm talking to people. I'm not talking to Seth. I'm talking to the people who think you should be fired. That is ridiculous. Those people should go underground. And they are underground for the most part now. But the minute they lose the next game, whether it's the Rams or the Ravens, they will be back.
Nick's a little bit of a weird guy, but he's our weirdo. And you know what? I think the Eagles organization likes it, John. I think they like him being the lightning rod, taking a lot of the attention, nobody's talking about Howie, nobody talks about Jeffrey Lurie. It's just all Nick.
Oh
I think
yeah, that's
they're
part of
okay
his
with that.
job. That's
Yeah.
part of his job
Yeah,
to
we talked about that.
do
All right,
that.
we got to run. Johnny Mac's got to get down there for coordinator day. John, good stuff, brother. I'll let you get out of here.
All right, thanks everybody.
All right, good stuff,
I
everyone.
like that. J Mac University. Work on those shirts, Zander.
Yeah,
I
J
like
Mac
that one.
U. Many are calling. One guy said JAKIB A&M for asshole and McMullen, Vasilio and McMullen. I like it. You got some good stuff in the chat today, John. Good stuff. Thanks everybody in the chat. Hit that like button on your way out, and we will catch you tomorrow morning on Birds 365.